The following program has been rated GE by the Kenya Film Classification Board. It is therefore suitable for general family viewing.
Hello viewer, welcome to Chungu cha Jamii. I'm your host Eunice Mugo. Today on the show we are having part 2 of online and online dating. Do you prefer offline or online dating? What is your take? Why do you choose that? Why does it work for you? Send in your question, your comments across all our social media networks. That's GBS TV Africa. Our SMS line is 21144. I'm not alone. I have guests with me who are not new to you, who are going to help us to have this conversation and articulate more on online and offline dating. I will allow them to introduce themselves. Welcome, guests, starting with you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. My name is Esther Katiba, HR professional, a family person, born again, a pastor, and director and host of Conversations with Esther, which is a media platform that speaks to wellness and the workplace issues.
Welcome to the show, Madam Esther.
Thank
to you, sir.
Thank you, Eunice. Hello, viewer. My name is Benjamin Mudoka. I'm a mind education specialist.
Welcome on the show. We were with you again.
Yes.
With the part 1.
Yes.
And we could not articulate the greater part of this conversation. Hence why we are having you again. Thank you for honoring our invite. As we continue with this conversation, femicide being the issues that you're having in today's television and with the current generation that you're talking of, digital era. We have talked and you have said of how we are supposed to change. And Esther, you mentioned how you don't want to blame this girl or this boy, and how you have invested on emotions. Now to ask, with these cases that you are having, and the accountability partners that you are supposed to build, when you are in this dating space, do you have red flags that you ignore and think that you can change or this person, not necessarily as changing them, but also having this hope, holding into this hope that this person will change when you get into marriage? For instance, if this person is drinking so much, if this person is battering you and you're dating, you're thinking when you get married, he will change, or when I get his baby, he will change, or when this happens, this person will change. Do you have something that will say, do you have case studies where we can say, this has happened to this person and they changed, or is the case study that people don't? What do you have?
I'll say this, Eunice. We have seen a lot of cases where, unfortunately, people have lost their lives in relationships. And later it's when they will come and say, and he kept saying that he will kill me, you know? Or I did a few things and he would spark and kind of lose himself, his temper and everything. And I was scared, you know? Or he threatened me when we were dating or we had gone out, he beat me up. But you see, they say love is blind. They say. But I want to advise the young people. It could even be the man. We have cases of men being battered right now. Please watch out. Some of these are just red flags, you know, because you will not change a person when you get into marriage. Don't be deceived. We tend to think, you know, I think it's because we're protecting our space, we're protecting our man or the woman. We don't want to accept it's not working sometimes. We don't want to accept that we need help. And because I'm a mental health champion and wellness champion, I keep saying that you need to watch the environment you're in. Because not much will change. The person you see today will not be at 100% different. If he's beating you today, he's fighting you, he's drinking, he's just all over the place, chances are that's the same person that you get into the house with. So I'm not saying leave him, but seek help. Some cases can be helped, okay, and that can be through professionals. Some don't even want to be helped because they also don't even think they have an issue. And if you have no say, I know he will talk about it. If you have no say as a woman, then you keep quiet and say he pays the bills if you've moved in with him already or whatever. But watch out if you can see some signs of danger. Be very careful. You better take longer to get into marriage if that's where you're going, and see if you can correct it, and see if you can seek professional help. If it's not working, I think you might need to just give yourself some space. Yes.
Allow me to ask you this. You've mentioned about his paying bills and not being able to voice out your frustration, your grievances, your concern and everything in this relationship. Is it all about paying bills? Or is it about, from where I'm seated, if we're in a relationship and we wanted to move to maybe marriage and something more serious and long lasting, then it's a partnership, or rather we are in this together. So if I don't have any say, even when you are dating, whereby I was talking to someone, let me just mention it briefly, and she was telling me, this person wants to marry me, and yet he just wakes up in the morning and like, can you change your plan? And we are doing A, B, C, D, and you're like, what gives you the right to think that I didn't have my own plans and schedules for the day? And if she doesn't conform to that, then this person is extremely angry. How do you deal with such a person, given that this is the person I'm dating, and this is the character I'm seeing from the word go?
That's interesting. Now, I think it takes us back to the empowered woman. If you go back to those years, which I don't want to take you there, because in a marriage, to be honest, today, then the man said what happens in the home.
Sure.
It's changed. The woman has a voice.
Sure.
I don't want to say the woman has a disrespectful voice. Because when someone wakes up and says we are going this way and you have no voice, you're not allowed to say a yes or a no, especially a no. You will get into that space where fear rules your relationship. And it's not that the woman doesn't have a life. People view it different, but I am always of the opinion that even if I'm married, I still keep my social circles. I have friends, I have family, I have relatives, because I've seen people that will not allow you to go see your friends, they will not allow you to go see your family. You make plans, and as you're saying, they just wake up with something different. I think it's about respect. You know, you kind of, as a man, you need to respect my space. And my space doesn't mean that I am more superior than you, but I could have plans. And communication in this case works, because it is, I think, respectful for you to just ask, did you have other plans today? I would want us to go to this place. You know, no, honestly, and
Sure.
It's what you develop in a relationship, because from the word go, if you trained, it's like a child. If you trained yourselves to just be going in his direction throughout, you are meeting me, I am in town waiting for you, and then you just give me a call and say, I've been told to go south. with respect, is it okay for you to just say, I had plans with Eunice and she's actually in town? Is it okay for me to join you after I've met this person? Because this man also needs to respect your decision. Otherwise, your mind will just be shifting in. You live in fear and you're controlled. That is a very bad space to be. Very bad space to be. Because you can't think for yourself.
Sure.
You're waiting for him to make a decision. Where are we going next? And sometimes he just walks out and leaves you there. You are waiting for a plan. Then he says, I've changed, and you cancelled yours. Can we make relationships a habitable environment?
Very true, I do agree with you. Coming to you, Mr. Benjamin, allow me to put you on the spotlight as a man in this conversation and room. Now that you are talking about relationships and dating, we've mentioned and we've said these are red flags that are there. Now, this is mostly with men, and also we are having women rising up to this place, whereby, allow me to put this, and I stand also to be corrected, those who have money tend to think everyone can conform and adjust to their plans, to their schedules, simply because they have money. More so men, and you're also having women who are coming to that space, whereby, if now, the way I've mentioned, I had my own plans, now you change, and say A, B, C, D. And if I don't do that, then there are those benefits and things that you do for me, and you say, if you're not going to do this, then the money you wanted for your hairdo, for the shopping, for, you're not going to get. And I'm like, please help us.
You talked about money.
Yes.
Of course, money is
Power.
it's good, it's power, it's a necessity, and you need it to live. But let's think about this. You know, Solomon one time he mentioned, and then he said like this: money is a defense, and wisdom is a defense as well. But he says the excellence of knowledge is that wisdom gives life to them that have it. So there is a difference between the defense that money gives and the defense that wisdom gives. Wisdom is not something that you gain from books. Wisdom comes from the Creator. And now we need to talk about something which is very key and essential. The heart of man is very precious, but many people, they don't know about the heart of man. Yes, of course, all of us, we were created by God. And then he speaks about something, and then he says, my people have committed two evils. One of them, they have forsaken me, the fountain of living waters. So if I want to live in that fountain of happiness, fountain of joy, fountain of peace, then it means I have to go back to the fountain of living waters. Number two, he speaks about them hewing themselves cisterns, broken cisterns that cannot hold water. Now let's think about this thing, leaving the Creator, leaving the fountain of living waters. And then when you leave him, then it means you get into another isolated way of living. In that isolated way of living, there is something that God speaks about the people who have already left him. And then what does he say about them? If you don't mind, you allow me to read one verse. And it's in the book of Romans chapter 1 and then verse 21. And it speaks about, because that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful. But they became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. When you look at the things that people do nowadays, there is a lot of folly in that. And when you look at them, you're thinking, why did they not think about this thing? Why are they acting like this? Why are they solving issues like this? It's not them. They left the fountain of living waters. And then from there, they professed to be wise, and yet they became fools. It is the written word of God. It is what happens to when people leave God. They get into work. But when they get into work, one time Apostle Paul was speaking, and then he said, the foolishness of God is wiser than the wisdom of men. You know, where the wisdom of man reaches, that's now where the foolishness of God starts. Which means even to attain that wisdom of God, according to the wisdom that we gain from this world, it cannot reach there. That's why I'm saying we need to go back. Why? If we don't go back, he still speaks and says like this, wherefore God also gave them unto uncleanness through the lusts of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves, who changed the truth of God into a lie, and worshipped and served the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. And then he speaks again and it says, for this cause God gave them up to vile affections. Even the women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. And also likewise, also men leaving the natural use of a woman, burned in their lust, one toward another man, with men working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves that recompense of their error which was met. You know, these people, as they did not even like to retain God in their heart, what do you expect from them? It says that God gave them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which are not convenient. Which means the reason why you see things happening in this world, you see, you know, when people see that a woman loves a woman, they think it's so strange, isn't it? Mm-hmm. A man loves a man. It looks so strange. A man so serious saying that I want to kill this girl. I'll kill this girl. They think it's something that is originating from them, but they left the fountain of the living waters, and then because of that, it is God who has now given them to those things, to do things that not even, you cannot even speak about them publicly. Mm-hmm. So the problem is they left. So what are they supposed to do? They need to return. And once they return, now they start getting wisdom. And then it talks about wisdom. Wisdom gives life to them that have it. So if they go back, they return back to God where they left, this is the beginning of wisdom. When they start to have that fear of God in them, this is the beginning of wisdom. But even, I'm sure Esther will tell me the truth. She's a pastor. People who have God in their heart, yes, they may be tempted by their own lusts, but they have something that is giving them some self-control. But people are just living anyhow, they don't care. That's why we need to go back to our kids, and then we need to teach them the fear of God. Because it says, funza watoto wako jinsi wataenda. And even when they grow up, they cannot depart from the ways of God. That would be my take.
Interesting. You've mentioned something that has sparked my mind about same-sex relationships. That's male, male, female, female. A while back on our social medias, there's a time we were so against, and also the government, I'm not sure if the policy is there or not, we had approved about the right of the same-sex relationship, but we are not for it. I'm not sure up to where we are with it today. But there is a time there was this guy, the gay boy, who was murdered. Is it by the boyfriend as well? Mm. Because of something, the differences that they did have in their relationship. Mm-hmm. This is a man and a man. But I've not had a case of a woman and a woman in a relationship that it has escalated to be also on the social media, whereby other than just beefs, fights and wrangles, to the extent of murder. Brings me to the question of, as you are talking about the femicides and these killings of relationship, is it that men are the one who are being provoked to that extent, or are they just too quick to act based on their emotions and investment, so to speak, that they go to the extreme of murdering? Because right now in the social media spaces, we are having these videos and stories that are trending, where we are finding ladies performing issues of murders are only in babysitting the house girls. This is happening to the children. But when you're talking in matters relationship, men are the ones who are being culprits of committing these cases, of the murder cases. Why are we having this? Even in the man-man relationship.
I think I should let him tell us why.
Again,
I
to
should
you,
allow
Mr.
him
Benjamin.
tell us why.
Why are we
men.
having? You've talked of isolation, you've talked of so many things. But from a man perspective and also from a mind education space, why are we having men doing?
Let's talk about isolation. And when we talk about isolation, isolation does not mean that Eunice will go and then she'll be living in a room alone. You can be with people, but your heart is already isolated. And when I talk about isolation, I'm talking about this one thing. Who do you speak to? Who is it that kind of, do you have that kind of a person who can tell now where Eunice is and what she is doing now? Do you have that kind of a friend who knows, I left Kasarani, I'm heading to town, where and to do what, and exactly with who and to meet who? Do you really have that kind of a person? One, men, mostly, I'll talk about the inferiority complex that comes to the heart of man. Why? Because of this thing called girl child. You know, the girl has been so much empowered to an extent that when they sit before men, they feel like we are equal, or even we are better than them, to the extent that we are the people to speak. Now I am the person to speak. He is not the one who is supposed to speak. But now, let's go back to, when we go back to the blueprint, I'll always talk about the blueprint, which is the Bible. There is that, you know, there is the structure of God that he created man. And he created man to be the head of the family. And it is something that is instilled in the heart of man, not by himself, not by any man. It is God who created them like that. But now, you know, empowering women is not a bad thing. It's a very good thing. For quite a long time in the ancient days, women were not supposed to speak. Even in some tribes now, and some cultures, women don't speak. They term them to be like, if I'm married, my wife becomes like the firstborn, the firstborn daughter. So she isn't supposed to command me on anything. She isn't supposed to tell me anything. That was that culture. I wouldn't say that this is biblical, but I would say that there is that structure of God that man is the head. But the head cannot move without the neck. That's why the neck is there to control the head, but it is not there to be over the head. You can imagine that cycle being overturned. Now the neck is up, and then it will be so uncomfortable, isn't it? And when it comes to now to the neck being very stiff, I know you know that feeling of having a stiff neck. That is what happens to when women become so stiff, in the point that we are so empowered, the girl child is so empowered in such a way that they have to now, it's kind of reversing everything, and then they are the ones to speak. Because of this, it has created that inferiority complex in the heart of man. And then man always would want to prove, I am the man. I gave you a date, you came here. Now you want to tell me everything that we are going to do. You want to command me, you want to take this, you want to go here. You come, you're like, this place is not fit for us. You have money, you don't want to spend your money. You want to command on what is in my pocket, and then you're telling me where we are supposed to go and what we are going to do. And because of these, I'm sorry, these people, they reach a point that they're fighting, and then they're fighting over what? She wants to prove, because she's so much empowered, she wants to prove that I have power to do things. But the man also, it is natural, it is coming from him, because this is the nature. But one thing that I want to say, which is very important, is that when people left God, you know, in the book of Thessalonians, 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 9 something, when people did not like to retain the truth in their heart, God sent them a strong delusion that they should believe in a lie. You know, a woman being the one who should speak over men, I would say on the principles of the Bible, it's a lie. Because God said it that a man will be the head and the woman will be the neck, isn't it? But this does not put man to a point that he has to rule over everything. They have to sit down, because the neck controls the head. These things should work together. That's why we need to sit down and talk and converse and do things. There be exchange. When there is that exchange of the hearts, then there is change. But why is it that we do not have change? We have fights, and there are many cases of even suicidal cases, isn't it?
Sure.
The suicidal cases are on the boy child. The killings are on the girl child. Yeah, think deeply. You will realize that this is the experience. Most of the people who are committing suicide are men. But the killings are happening on the girl child.
A question. Now that you've mentioned that one of suicide being on the high numbers of men and killings on female, is it because after you've committed the murder, or after you've gone through all this frustration, you have no solutions to exactly what it is that it's eating you up, that you end up taking your own life?
For this one is very simple. You know, Apostle Paul was able to reach that point, and then he was saying like this: "Oh, wretched man that I am, who shall deliver me from this body of death?" He speaks about this because of, he says like this: whatever I want to do, the good thing that I want to do, I do not do. But the evil that I hate to do, this is what I do most. Then he realized one thing: in him, that is in his flesh, dwelleth no good thing. To will is present with him, but how to perform that which is good, he does not find. Which means he has that strong will of doing what is good. You know, in every person, this is not about men only, even about women. There is that strong will of doing things. But the power to perform is not in them. That's why Apostle Paul was able to reach that point, and then he was saying, "Oh, wretched man that I am, who shall deliver me from this body of death?" When many people reach that point, it's when now they reach a point of committing suicide. But Apostle Paul does not end there. He speaks about a different thing. He's at the point of so down to earth. And then he speaks, and then he says, I thank God because of Jesus. How many people at that point can say, I thank God? It is simply because they left from God. God does not appear anywhere in their way of living. That's why they cannot reach that point of Apostle Paul. And then, you know, I was in that point of a wretched man, and then I'm saying thankful. It means now the pain is gone. I'm now, you know, thankful people are always smiling. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Then you cannot reach that point of committing suicide when you have thankfulness in your heart. And then I will talk about one man. There is one, he's a motivational speaker. His name is Zig Ziglar. He once said like this: I have never seen a happy man who does not know how to be thankful. You know, people who are really thankful, they're always happy. But people who do not have that thankful heart in them, they always complain. I'm telling you, even in this online dating and whatever we are talking about, you're dating a person who is not thankful. You're dating a woman who does not know how to be thankful. I'm telling you the truth, you cry every day. Because they cannot even appreciate the small things that you do to them.
When you come back after the break, Madam Esther, I'd want to hear your take on the same, because again, this one is too much, so to speak. Viewer, I hope you're learning as much as I am. Send in your question, your comments across all our social media networks. That's GBS TV Africa. Our SMS line is 21144. We'll be back shortly.